Kai Hattendorf is the immediate past president of the Joint Meetings Industry Council, and along with his colleagues on the board, has been responsible for the pledge for the Net Carbon Zero Events Initiative. He joins me now to explain the pledge and the rationale behind it. Kai, nice to see you back, fresh from Singapore. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a bit about this pledge.
It is an attempt to unite our industry and bring us to the table where the discussion takes place about how to implement the global climate targets agreed in 2015 at the Paris Climate Accord. Now, you have to have in mind that in 2015, governments and nation states agreed to reduce greenhouse gases and to become carbon neutral eventually between now and 2050. And in the past 2 or 3 years, we have seen a growing number of industries picking up these targets and formulating pledges and pathways to achieve these things throughout their respective industries. So this year at COP26 in Glasgow, there will be quite a few industries stepping forward, and there's going to be a lot of movement and announcements around activities coming from various sectors and industries around the world. And so we thought this is the time for us as the global events industry to also answer that call and to combine a lot of what had already been going on in the industry in various sectors and segments of business events and events as such to unite behind a joint initiative. And it came to be really thanks to the colleagues from the Scottish Event Campus who are hosting COP26 this year. Them reaching out to a few of the global trade associations, to UFI, ICA, AIPC, and moderating the dialogue with the United Nations body, the UNFCCC, who are overseeing the conference and the activities on the way to the climate targets. And therefore, we had a broad conversation on how best to move forward with an industry-wide, open and inclusive initiative where everyone can be part. And that is super important. This is not another initiative that sits next to everything we're already doing in the sector. This is now about building the foundation for us as an industry to have a seat on the table to discuss with other industries, hospitality, travel, infrastructure, what we need to do jointly going forward to reduce or stay within the 1.5 degrees limit that mankind tries to achieve when it comes to global warming. So it's a big task. But it's super important for me to say this is not owned by JMIC or run by JMIC. JMIC is simply, as the global network of associations and actors in the sector, the biggest possible umbrella with a global footprint we could find to activate the organizers, the venues, the service providers in the industry to commit them to be part of that journey.
How important is collaboration between both the demand and the supply side of industry to ensure that that pledge is met?
It is paramount. I mean, if the pandemic, the last 18 months have taught us one thing, then it is that we need to work together as an industry on the really relevant matters. So we're working together, supply and demand in the industry on reopening. We're working together as supply and demand on the industry on health and safety. And we will have work together around sustainability jointly between supply and demand. In many ways, this development is driven by the expectations of our customers. I mean, make no mistake, the companies who exhibit, the people who are traveling to events, their decision to attend, their decision to use the services we offer as an industry will be shaped by the way we run our events. And if we don't do that well enough on the sustainability level, for us in the exhibitions industry, we have the data that shows that up to 50% of visitors are seriously consider not attending if an event is not sustainable enough.
We know that we will carry a carbon footprint with any event that involves particularly any degree of international travel. How do we justify through the data, through the trade, through the improvements in patient care, through the innovation and collaborations that result from our events, to ensure that we're not perceived purely as a consumer of these travel, hospitality and event services?
If we only focus on the input, it is easy to say, for instance, a digital event produces less CO2 than a physical and face-to-face event. But the key of events is that they create an output, an economic output, an intellectual output, a societal output. And these outputs need to be bigger than the investment. And a big part of that investment is the damage, the potential damage we do to the climate by holding such an event. Generally, events are, if you so wish, carbon aggregators. They bring people together to one destination at a certain point in time. And by centralizing people, bringing them to a marketplace, a meeting place, they avoid a lot of decentralized travel. So that alone minimizes the amount of travel that is necessary to drive a development. Look at COP26 itself. When it matters, there's a physical gathering of leaders and those who shape the future to come together to make a difference. There's a digital dialogue going on all the time, but when it matters, people need to come together. So we are carbon aggregators with these events. And yes, while we create a footprint then on the spot during the event, it is a significantly smaller footprint than the topic itself would create if it wouldn't have a central meeting place, a central marketplace.
Kai, talking to Miguel Gonzalez at the UNFCCC, he was saying that that we, alongside the fashion and sports sectors, have been afforded, I don't know whether it's special needs, but certainly spotlight attention.
There have been dialogues between the UNFCCC and various industry associations and actors over the years already, now culminating into this belief that next to retail and fashion and sports events and one or two other sectors that are preparing pledges, the event sector has such a critical function. Again, in these two roles, as we provide the platforms for the topic for every industry, and as we are an industry in our own right, that it makes so much sense to unite this industry behind an industry-wide initiative and a pledge. So it's a natural development in many ways, and we are very pleased to see that the UN gets the relevance of our sector. And of course, this again is a huge step in our industry's advocacy work to make sure that events are seen as facilitators of development, as a strategic asset for governments and regions, and not predominantly as a sector or subsegment of travel and tourism.
We've seen many organizations within our sector, and certainly within the destination sector or destination marketing sector, who've invested a lot of time and energy and innovation towards our contribution to sustainable development. What would you say to them in relation to weighing in behind the pledge?
Well, this pledge is as inclusive as can be. So whether you're an exhibition organizer or a destination or a small service provider, please join in. This challenge is the biggest one we have as mankind as well as an industry. And we need all hands on deck and all skills applied to bring us forward. We need to share all the good practices we have from various destinations, from various initiatives, and from everyone who's been out there doing work in this field already for 10, 15, 20 years or even longer. And we've had a working group around sustainable development for 15 years. On JMIC level, we have accumulated around 50 best practice case studies of initiatives that are supporting and good examples for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So much has already been done. It's not a race it's not a race to zero, that we are starting from zero. To use the oldest metaphor in the world, it is a marathon, but not a sprint. But hey, we're already way past the halfway mark when it comes to what we as an industry can do, because we've already started a lot. And the next 1 or 2 years, building onto this foundation of the pledge, will be to chart a common course for the industry. And we will need everyone on deck, and there will be by far enough to do for everyone. If we just put politics on the side and focus on the task, there's enough for everyone to do, and there's enough potential for everyone to align working on the basis of this pledge with their respective missions, visions, strategic plans, whatever.
Kai Hattendorf, thank you very much.
Thank you, James. And hope to see you soon in real life.